Welcome to Executive Leaders Radio, your spot in the corner office, the radio show where executives share their secrets to success. Executive Leaders Radio.
You're listening to Real World Leaders, broadcast in conjunction with the Belmont Charter High School. This is your host, Herb Cohen, with my co-hosts Darren, Deshawn, Denham, Jayana, Tashira, and Zoe from Belmont Charter High School. We have two great guests today, Regina Hairston, President and CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware, and Gregory, President and CEO of Lampire Biological Laboratories. Let's get to know our first guest, Regina Hairston, President and CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. Regina, what is the African American Chamber of Commerce?
The AACC is the leading advocate for minority-owned businesses, serving over 1,500 businesses in the Delaware Valley and southeastern Pennsylvania.
And where you're from originally, how many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
I'm from Callens, Virginia. I'm a middle child, but never learned how to be the middle child, so I was the baby girl.
And tell me a little bit about 8 to 14. What kind of stuff were you doing 8 to 14 years old?
8 to 14, I was out on the farm playing, riding my bike, helping my grandfather plant the garden. Then I started to have friends in school, and we started hanging out and participating in school activities such as student government, pageants, and things that all teenagers do.
Mm-hmm. Darren, what was your question?
What college did you attend?
I went to St. Joseph's University for my bachelor's degree and University of Pennsylvania for my master's degree.
Deshawn?
Earlier, you mentioned having a very outdoor-centric childhood. How did having that outdoor-centric childhood contribute to who you are today?
Certainly. So being outdoors allowed me the space, the freedom to grow into the person that I am today. And so that allows me to always think about creating pathways so folks have opportunities and options. The more options I have, the freer I feel.
Denham?
What motivated you to do what you wanted to do?
I've always wanted to help people. It's something that was a part of me as a child, and that is what I'm in my most happiest time, is helping other people. So that motivates me.
Zoe?
What kind of resources do you offer to business owners?
We offer programming to help businesses grow. We provide networking events to help businesses connect to other businesses that are going to help them grow. We provide advice, and we provide advocacy around legislation to help businesses thrive.
Tashira?
How was your life in college? Did you have good time management?
I had absolutely terrible time management. I had to reposition myself and understand and learn how to go about the life of college and how to connect to resources.
Gianna?
Okay, what things do you need to be successful in your position?
To be successful in any position, you have to have tenacity and grit. Everything will not always go the way you expect it to go, but you just have to keep moving, keep going. You have to find the energy to do it, pick yourself up, and just keep moving forward.
Deshawn?
How did being a middle child lead to and contribute to your position as the president of the AAC?
It makes me accessible. Anybody can talk to me at any time. I didn't come into this world by myself. I had a sister already there to lead the way and somebody to talk to. So I'm always wanting people to talk to.
Darren?
How was your transition from high school to college?
Oh, it was super hard, right? I always had people to help me and to figure it out for me. And so I had to stand on my own for once, for the first time in my life. And I didn't have my parents there to figure it out for me, or my grandparents there to make sure that I get up for school or to make sure that I eat. So it was hard at first, but I figured it out.
How young were you when you began sticking up for other people or getting other people a voice? How young were you when that characteristic began to show up?
Really young, probably around maybe 5 years old. I remember in church, there was a community member who needed a kidney transplant, and I started raising the money for his medical care.
How young were you?
Probably 5.
So you're telling me you're helping raise money for somebody you didn't really know for their medical care. I'm trying to figure out what's that characteristic have to do with you being the president and CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware.
I've always been an advocate, and that's what I am now. I'm the voice of Black business owners around the region. I've always advocated. I've always created spaces for other voices.
Well, what did your mom and dad do for a living?
Sure. So my mom, even though she had a bachelor's in criminal justice, she worked in manufacturing, and my father was in the Air Force and went on to work in an emergency room.
Huh. So are you like, well, what do you bring from mom to work every day?
So my mom is always, as I say, in someone's business and always trying to help them. She would take in anyone. She would hold the baby on the train for strangers she didn't know. And so that is what I do now. I'm always asking questions. How do you want to grow? What are the barriers to you being able to have your business? So I'm very inquisitive in other people's business.
And how about dad? What do you bring from dad to work every day?
Yeah, so my dad is really intelligent. And so I have to shift to that strategic hat where I'm taking all of that information and creating a plan to get the outcome that we're looking for.
So how do you know you're making a difference?
I know I'm making a difference when I have members that'll email me or call me, or I'll just hear them say how we at the chamber have made a difference for them, how we've connected them to an opportunity or something that we did that grew their business.
So part of your job is connecting, it's understanding people and then connecting people to other people?
It's connecting, it's understanding what people need. It's connecting them to other people and connecting them to resources so they can get the outcome they're looking for.
So it sounds like, as opposed to being the boss, you're like all about servant leadership or something like that, as opposed to do it my way, I'm the boss. It's like you're listening to everybody and trying to figure out what everybody needs and trying to get them what they need. Am I reading that correctly?
That's correct. I like to say I'm pollinating. So I'm the bee that's pollinating. I go from flower to flower. I get a little bit of information. I take it to the next flower to help it blossom and grow. And then we take it to the next flower.
So I guess the good thing is, because you're the president and CEO, you go into work at 10 or 11 o'clock and lead at 3 or 4 o'clock, and you have long lunches and you have fun. And you don't got to work weekends or evenings or anything like that, do you?
That's absolutely correct. No. What do you mean? What everyone sees, but I am working. If I'm not asleep, I'm working. I'm always thinking about what members need. I'm always thinking about an idea. I'm always thinking about legislation. I'm always thinking about how we can make it better. I'm always answering emails. Like, it's a lot of work, but it's super rewarding. And there's nothing else that I would be doing in this moment.
Do you get paid extra? Well, how early in the morning do you start with your emails, and how late do you go to night? And do you get paid extra for working those extra hours?
So there's no paid extra, but you're paid with the reward, right? So the outcomes of that work is the reward. That is how I'm paid. So I don't try to get up extra early, because I like to hit the treadmill before I start with the emails. So I'm going to say about 7. And every day just kind of is different as far as what the latest time I might check emails, but I work on Saturday and Sunday. But to me, every day is a Friday. There's no such thing as a Monday when you're doing what you love.
And what is it you love best about your job? What do you really enjoy about the job the most?
The people. I love people. If you haven't figured it out, I love people. So I love helping people accomplish whatever they're passionate about.
You love helping people accomplish whatever but how about you? How about you accomplishing what you're putting everybody else's needs before your own, aren't you?
But I'm passionate about helping people. So that is, in return, what makes me happy. I'm in other people's business, helping their business.
So it sounds like you really enjoy being involved, helping the business community advance themselves, the African-American community advance themselves and connect them with resources. It's like a mission for you.
It is. I've been driving impact in the African American community since I knew what the word was.
What's the website address for this African American Chamber of Commerce?
Sure, it's aachamber.org.
We've been speaking with Regina Hairston, President and CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware, here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com, to learn more about our executive leaders. And we will be back in a moment after we take this quick break. And again, Regina Hairston, President and CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce. This is Herb Cohen, your Executive Leaders Radio host. And the CEOs we've interviewed on this show are interested in helping you get your business started and helping you grow your business, whether you're aware of the issues or whether you want the CEOs to give you a hand identifying the issues in getting your business started and or in growing your business. Why don't you email us at consult@executiveleadersradio.com. That's consult@executiveleadersradio.com. Whether you're interested in having our CEOs speak with you regarding getting your business started or growing your business, send us an email at consult@executiveleadersradio.com, and we'll be sure to get back to you shortly with some help. We're back. You're listening to Real World Leaders, Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen, with Darren, Deshawn, Denham, Gianna, Tashera, and Zoe as my co-hosts. I'd like to introduce Gregory Krug, President and CEO of Lampire Biological Laboratories. Mr. Krug, what is Lampire Biological Laboratories? What are you guys doing?
We're supplying key reagents to the life science industry, biotechnology, pharmaceutical, and diagnostics.
Huh. That sounds pretty complicated. How did you get started with this business, and how young were you when you got started with this business?
I was in college in between my sophomore and junior year, and I showed up the wrong place for a job interview, and I was about 18 years old.
You were about 18 years old. And are you a genius getting this business started, which you told us earlier is 130 or 140 people in the life science industry, biological lab? Huh?
No, not at all. Passionate about what we do.
Uh-huh. Zoe, what was your question?
Have you ever felt uncomfortable with doing certain experiments on animals?
Yes. In other words, certain experiments we don't do, and we don't work with companion animals. We mainly work with domestic farm animals and certain laboratory animals.
All right. Gianna?
Growing up, did you see yourself in this career?
Because of my love for animals. It's very passionate, and I love going to work every day knowing I'm helping human and animal kind alike.
Tashera?
Knowing what you know now, would you go back and change anything about your career?
I love my career. I love how it started and where we're going, and every day I look forward to. So I'd say I'd stay the same path.
Darren?
What is your educational background?
I have a BS degree in animal science from Delaware Valley University, but I also come from the School of Hard Knocks, which is starting a business from scratch and working through it.
Deshawn?
Do you get attached to any of the animals?
Very much so. The animals all have different personalities, and many of them have names. It's easy to get very attached to them, working with them day to day.
Mm-hmm. Tashera?
How many children do you have, and what have you learned from your children about business?
I have 5 boys, and working with the boys, I've learned a lot about business. They always ask interesting questions about what we do and why we do what we do. And it causes me to think, and they come up with some really great ideas sometimes from our discussions. I look at them sometimes as true partners.
Wait a minute. How old are your sons? And you're saying they're coming up with ideas for the business? What?
Yeah, they come up with very good ideas. They're a range from age of 15 to 24.
and they're coming up with ideas that can help you've got a team of 130 or 140 people. Do your people ever come up with good ideas?
Fantastic ideas. We work as a team, and there's a lot of synergistic effect. We have a very diverse background of education in our workforce, everything from tech students all the way through to PhDs, veterinarians.
So I guess that's why you want your team to be your team, is because they really do all contribute.
Everybody contributes. It's a team event.
Uh-huh. And
365 days a year.
Mm-hmm. Deshaun?
Have you had to overcome any adversity or any significant obstacles?
Always. There's always, blocks in the road, and working through things, just like this latest COVID virus, trying to keep our employees safe, trying to keep our facilities open, because we had to produce very crucial products that were needed to detect or fight this very significant virus.
I got a question. Do you ever have a day where there's not problems to be solved?
I don't think so. I think there's always challenges there that we're working through or trying to look into.
Do you have any people that have been with you for a long period of time?
Our oldest employee, we've been in business for over 45 years. I have employees that have been there for over 30 years. Many that have been with the company for over 20 years.
So why do people come to work for your company or come to work for the business or the team, or come to work with the team and stick around for so long?
I believe it's, again, a passion of the work that we do, and knowing that every day when you come into work, you're helping mankind around the world.
So do you ever talk to your people, or do you sit in a fancy dancy office and drink coffee all day?
No, I try and talk to my people and interact. I learn a lot from them every day. And then on Fridays, we do a town hall meeting as a Zoom meeting, and we bring everybody together and share what's happening within the company and at different facilities, and share each other's personal good news.
Wait. You're running a business. Why would you go about sharing personal good news if you're running a business?
Because we're a family. We all share, and the photos of new births or new pets or things that are happening. We have employees who end up getting engaged, married, and so on and so forth. So it's a continual interaction.
But doesn't that take away from doing business? The fact you're taking time out of 130 people's time to talk about who got a new dog?
Not at all. It's all very important that we understand, and we're there for each other through the wins, the sorrows, and the victories.
It sounds to me like you're running a business of people as opposed to something with animals. I mean, it's just people, or it's always about people with you as well as animals. Am I saying that right, or am I wrong?
No, it's definitely the biggest asset of any company is people. That's the biggest asset a company can have.
Do you think there's any opportunities for high school students nowadays to get involved with biological sciences, the stuff that you're doing?
Most definitely. There's fantastic programs out there, and industry knows it. We need to create that workforce, that energy to see things through and to develop it. It's constantly changing, and we love bringing young people on.
Do you have all the employees that you need? I mean, do you have all the positions filled right now?
No, we're constantly growing and needing more staff.
And are there opportunities for young people like high school students to get involved in the company and be able to really earn a good living and enjoy their lives with a job with your company?
Not only can they come on and start making a good income, but we'll help them with their education. We have a tuition reimbursement program that will pay for their further education based on grade. If they get an A, we pay 100%. If they get a B, we pay 75%. If they get a C, we pay 50%. And we can help them grow in other ways. We'll help them get certain certifications. We'll help them with training. We'll even help them go work for another company to help them grow.
So you believe in investing in your people. Maybe that's one of the reasons they stick around. And you're doing everything from helping them with college tuition to other certifications and other programs. And you're doing these town hall meetings with everybody on Fridays to build a family, to build a team. So it sounds to me like your real focus is really building the team. It's building the family.
That's what's made the company so successful for 45 years, the people.
Do you know some of your people's names and birthdays and stuff like that?
Sure. We celebrate birthdays all the time. In other words, we have different celebrations of birthdays. We give them gift cards. We do in-house parties. It's hard to remember everybody's name. I'm not great at it, but I try to remember the face, and definitely will not stop and talk to anybody who wants to discuss anything at any time.
And going back to this obstacles, I mean, I guess, growing a business, you said there's not really a day where there's not problems. What kind of problems is it? What kind of problems do you deal with?
Just like any business. In other words, there's always the issues of cash flow, new technologies, breakdown of equipment, people who, in other words, need something yesterday, and, the shortage of supply with the supply chains today, increased costs, personnel issues. It goes, hand in hand with business. But those are the challenges that you learn not to regret, but to be passionate about, to make it better.
And I guess that's why you need your team, because those are the kinds of problems you guys need to succeed. What's the website address for Lampire Biological Laboratories?
www.lampire.com.
Let me have that one more time.
www.lampire.com.
We've been speaking with Gregory Krug, President and CEO of Lampire Biological Laboratories, here on Executive Leaders Radio and Real World Leaders. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com, to learn more about our executive leaders. Stick around. We'll be back in a moment, right after this quick break. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio, Real World Leaders. This is your host, Herb Cohen, with my co-hosts Shay, Desir, Darren, Dylan, Denaya, Deshawn, and Brent Saul. Our students are from the Belmont Charter High School, and we have two great guests on our show today, including Lawrence James, President and CEO of Connexus Technologies, and Suzanne, founder and managing partner of Kinzie Capital Partners. Let's get to know our first guest, Lawrence James, President and CEO of Connexus Technology. Lawrence, what is Connexus Technology? What do you guys do?
Pleasure to be here. Connexus Technology provides IT staffing and data integration services.
Where are you from? How'd you get a job with this company?
I started Connexus Technology with my partner in my last year at Drexel University.
And where you from? How many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
I'm an only child. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I was raised by my mom.
How come you were raised by your mom?
My father passed of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was 3 years old.
And what was the effect of that on you, the fact that your dad passed at 3 years old?
Well, it was just my mother and I, and she looked out for me, and I really looked out for her, even as a little child.
What do you mean you looked out for her as a little child? What are you talking about?
Well, every time she left to walk out into the street, I was always concerned, and I would watch her, as she would travel through the street, and whatever she had to do, I always had her back.
What is that, having her back and always watching for her on the street, even as a little kid, have to do with you building this business, which is 30 people nowadays?
Well, this company is all about people, and it is most important that we take care of each other as well as our customers.
Denaya?
What does a typical day look like for you?
What does a typical day look like for you, Lawrence?
Well, my day is meeting with my team and my leaders. So the first meeting is meeting with my team to make sure that everything's running well and making any changes we need to make.
Deshawn?
Do you answer to anyone, or do you freely make your decision?
Being the president, I answer to my customers.
Darren?
You talked about basketball. How did you get involved in basketball?
When my father passed, we moved to a really nice neighborhood. And in this neighborhood, I was probably one of the only minorities, and I was the only Black kid on the team. They thought I could play. I couldn't. And that's how I got into the game.
What was your role on the team, and what's that have to do with who you are nowadays?
Well, originally my role was I was just a simple guard, and then I evolved into becoming the starting point guard. And that's very similar to what I do in my company now. I lead and make sure that the playing field is advantageous to my team.
Dylan?
What do you do differently as a boss to ensure your team is happy and healthy?
Communication is key. So we are sure to set up events and forums, a space for us to talk about what's going on individually as persons and people, as well as the work that we have in front of us.
Desir?
How do you define success?
I feel as though success is a journey. So depending on what's going on, as long as I'm making my family happy, I'm creating opportunity for others, I consider that to be positive on the forward movement of success.
Shay?
How stressful is it managing your company?
I'd like to say that entrepreneurship can be manic depressive, extreme highs and extreme lows. And I appreciate it when it's a good balance and we're in the middle.
Denaya?
What is your least favorite part about your job?
Being a people person, I least like having to terminate people.
Mm-hmm. Deshaun?
How do you build connections with your employees at work?
Very good question. Before the pandemic, we would have a lot of social events where we could come together after work and so forth. It's been more difficult now. During the pandemic, we all had VR headsets and we'd go party in the metaverse.
How do you stay so focused when being pulled in so many different directions?
Very good question. My foundation is most certainly God and my wife. I speak to them both constantly.
Darren?
What education and or experience is needed to work at your company?
So we are a technology-based company. In the past, you needed a college education to learn the skills and so forth. Now you can learn them on the internet. You can learn them through experience. So it's a wide variety of experience and education that would make you great for my company.
Desir?
What are the main skills?
What kind of skills and when people come to work for your company, what kind of skills do they gather?
Well, first and foremost, you're going to learn how to work with people. I think that's the most important part of working at Connexus before you learn the skills that are needed to do the job.
Mm-hmm. Shay?
How do you manage your time to ensure a good work-life balance?
Great question. I'm still working on that. However, I set agendas, tasks, and plans ahead of time. So as I walk into the day, I have clear goals and I know what I'm looking to achieve on a day-to-day basis.
Mr. Brensall.
Lawrence, did you have any mentors in your life? And if so, how did they shape you?
Yes. So I had two mentors that I could think of. One is my computer teacher when I was in high school. He gave me independent study projects where I was creating software, building machines. So technology is core to me. In college, when I started Connexus, I had a mentor that was very instrumental teaching me the fundamentals of business. So together, they are shaping where I am today.
You mentioned earlier that you really rely, I think you mentioned, on your wife and God to keep you focused. Am I correct?
Yes.
Is your wife a business genius?
So my wife is a people genius in terms of she's very intuitive. So I can bring anything by her and she'll give me sound advice. And if we don't have the answers, we'll pray about it.
Wait a minute. You're talking about intuition having something to do with business? I thought business was numbers and law and accounting. What?
Business is all about people, process, and for me, understanding people is most paramount in terms of building a team and making the right decisions. And my wife is very instrumental in helping me see through things that I don't see alone.
And wait a minute. And you also mentioned, and I don't mean to embarrass you, that you pray. Should you be praying? What are you talking about?
So in my house, before we leave, my kids and my wife and I, we pray together, we read a scripture together, and we don't start the day any other way. I need to invite God into my day before the day starts.
What's the benefit?
The benefit is that I know and I believe that I have an advocate in heaven that's looking out for me no matter what happens. And if I started that day that way, I know that I have that divine support.
So let me ask you this question. In terms of the 30 people that are on your team, and I know that you have agreements with people, you're supposed to pay them a certain amount of money and all that other kinds of stuff. Do you ever go beyond the call of duty for any of your people?
For my people, for sure, we do, as well as my company. We serve in the community. For example, my business partner has programming for youth in Southwest. My wife and I have set up a Bible study at a local Pennsylvania jail. So serving people is most paramount to myself as well as my partner, Chris Holland.
Doesn't that suck out a lot of energy from you and take up a lot of time?
On the contrary, it's actually what feeds me, because the monotonous process and things that occur in business sometimes can be draining. But then when I'm doing something that is feeding people and helping people to grow, that feeds my soul. And there's nothing more important than that.
Wait a minute. What feeds your soul?
Helping people.
And does that help you in business, helping people?
It does, because as a leader, I believe that the best example is servant leadership, and that's leading by example and showing people how to do what they are to do. So
wait a minute, I thought you were the boss. You're supposed to sit at the top and yell and scream at people. They're supposed to do what you want, right?
So I've learned that it's easier to show people how to do things rather than to tell them. And people tend to respect you more. And they seem to be more invested when they see that you're actually doing what you're teaching.
So you're telling me that to lead a company, it's really leading from behind. What you're trying to do is to demonstrate and to gain commitment, because you can't really demand compliance. You got to gain commitment. You can't demand compliance. Does that make any sense?
It makes total sense. I mean, look, you can pay people to do a job, but I would rather have people where their heart is in it as well as they're getting paid, because you'll get more for your money there.
What's the website address of Connexus Technology?
Our website is ConnexxusTechnology.com.
We've been speaking with Lawrence James, President and CEO of Connexus Technology, here on Executive Leaders Radio, Real World Leaders. Stick around. We'll be back in a moment right after this quick break. This is Herb Cohen, your host at ExecutiveLeadersRadio.com. Regarding your career, if you're trying to figure out how to make the most money and also enjoy your career, that's enjoy your career, I mean, really enjoy your career and make the most money, you ought to talk to our CEOs. They've got the bird's eye view of where the really profitable jobs are, where the really profitable jobs are going to be, and they're willing to speak with you regarding their vision for the future and where you may fit into it in order to make the most money and really enjoy your career. Email us, consult@executiveleadersradio.com. That's consult@executiveleadersradio.com to get help from our CEOs regarding where you may want to go in your career to make the most money and really enjoy your career. Consult@executiveleadersradio.com. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio, Real World Leaders. I'd like to introduce Suzanne Yoon, founder and managing partner of Kinzie Capital Partners. Suzanne, what is Kinzie Capital Partners? What are you guys doing?
Kinzie is a private equity firm focused on buyouts and acquisitions of lower middle market companies.
How many dollars are you managing? Is any of this your money?
So over a couple $100 million at this point and growing, and a portion of it is my money.
Where are you from originally? How many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
So I am originally from Chicago, Illinois, and I am the oldest of four, and the daughter of immigrants from South Korea.
And 8 to 14 years old. Did you come from a lot of money?
I did not. My parents came here with nothing and really worked hard to start a business. Unfortunately, my father was killed in armed robbery at the age of 10.
Uh-huh. And this was working at a store, if I remember correctly. How young were you when you started working at that store?
I actually started helping my father as early as 4.
So you're 4 years old and you're working in your father's store. What did you start doing there? What did you end up doing there?
I started with him trying to keep me busy and doing small tasks like cleaning up, putting things away.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up expanding my horizons to doing more of that so that I could get candy bars in return.
And when Dad was killed when you were 10 and you're the oldest of 4 of an Asian family, what happened to your role in the family?
My mother actually stepped up immediately and really started working 2 shifts. She was a nurse. And because of that, I really had to take over responsibilities for my sibling and for our household.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you had to. It sounds like as opposed to being a victim, you did. So you stepped up being the second parent to your siblings, being the oldest of 4 with an Asian family. And it sounds like it's the same thing you did stepping up from the age of 4 to the age of 10 when you were working with your dad in that store. So your middle name is like stepping up. And I'm wondering if that has anything to do with your being able to be able to make enough money and also run several $100 million in this private equity firm?
Yes, I think I've always looked for opportunities to do more and help people around me. And I knew having the right financial stability would also help my family.
Danae?
What does your company do differently from other companies in your industry?
Yeah, what does your company do differently than other companies?
It's a very competitive industry where I am, and we focus a lot on people and the diversity of our team.
Mm-hmm.
And we also...
Mm-hmm.
How do you ensure personal growth for yourself and for your employees?
Starting the company itself was probably the biggest growth opportunity I had. And for my employees, we're constantly looking for opportunities to train.
Darren?
What does a good team culture look like to you?
A great team culture to me is when everyone feels like they have a voice and they know that their teammates are going to show up for them and that they're going to show up for their teammates.
Dylan?
How should someone go about joining your company?
So my company does not hire out of undergrad. We generally tend to have at least 3 to 10 years of experience before we hire. So you have to start actually in a banking program or some other type of financial program and get experience prior to joining my company.
Do you feel as though you...
Desir, let's see, what's it take to make it in your industry?
It takes a lot of grit and hard work and a lot of hours. It's not an easy industry.
Mm-hmm. Shay?
What is one thing you wish you would have known when you started this position?
I wish I knew how hard it was going to be. And I will tell you, I knew it was going to be hard, and it was so much harder than that.
Danae?
What is your least favorite thing?
Yeah, what is the least favorite part of your job?
My least favorite part of my job is when someone doesn't work out on the team and I have to let them go.
Mm-hmm. Deshaun?
What is one trait you expect from members of your team?
The most important, I think, is integrity and making sure that not just being honest, but always doing the right thing and showing up for others on the team.
You said integrity. What do you mean by that?
Really showing up for other people, doing the right thing. And it's not just about being honest, right? It's always, sometimes there are tough decisions, and it sometimes means not making as much money or maybe not being advantageous to oneself, but also thinking about the larger group.
Darren?
What is your proudest achievement?
My proudest achievement, other than starting Kinzie, is really how well my kids are growing up. Mm-hmm. It's really about my kids.
Dylan?
How do you manage conflict amongst your team?
I address it head on, make sure that we address it right away when I see it, and it doesn't linger.
Mm-hmm. Desir?
What life experience did you have that led you to this line of work?
Not having financial stability as a child after my father passed away, and wanting to have that for not just myself, but for my family, really led me to the finance industry.
Shay?
What sparked your initial interest in your field?
What sparked your interest in the field?
It was actually movies as a kid in the 80s and 90s, where I saw people who had a lot of, I would say, money and influence in the finance field, and the ability that they had to really make changes.
Brent?
What has made the biggest impact on your life?
Other than my father passing away, it was really becoming a mother.
What do you mean? Tell us more.
It is for people who are parents, it is the greatest joy of my life.
What have you learned from your children that's helped you build this business?
Oh, patience, communication, understanding that even living in the same household, you have very different personalities and desires, and how to build consensus amongst a group of very different people, even though we have the same goals in mind.
Mm-hmm. What's the similarity between being a CEO and being a parent and being a mom?
The scheduling, making sure that you are on top of all of the scheduling and the house. It is, I don't think there's a lot of difference between being a CEO in the home and a CEO at a company.
Mm-hmm. So is there really a connection between your stepping up as the oldest of four when your dad passed away when you were 4, and what you're doing nowadays?
Maybe not. Actually, it's a great question. I think I've always looked for opportunities to step up and do things maybe a little differently than others.
So you're comfortable stepping up, you're comfortable taking responsibility. It sounds like you're really well organized too. You know, you're looking into the future, you're taking responsibility, you're working well with the team like you did with your mom, taking responsibility for your siblings, taking responsibility for the team. You know, am I reading that correctly?
Yes, I'm very comfortable with taking responsibility.
Mm-hmm. I guess that's what you were doing like when you were 4 years old. I guess one of the reasons your dad brought you in when you were 4 and kept bringing you in until the time you were until you were 10 and he passed was because, you know, you would bring in, my guess is, as opposed to goofing around in the store, you really were working, weren't you?
I was working. I really wanted to be like my dad.
What are you talking about?
The store.
What do you mean?
He was an entrepreneur and he started the store. He ran the store. He was very kind to his employees. He was very kind to me. And, you know, I think too, everyone in the community knew that if they needed someone, they could go to my father.
How do you know that?
Just stories I've heard, and also the way he treated our family.
What's that have to do with you in business?
I think I hold a lot of those same traits. I think if you ask my team members who they would call in an emergency, I might be on I hope I would be on the top of that list. Because I'll show up.
I guess that's one of the reasons your investors invest with you and then continue to invest with you. It's because of your personal integrity. Well, what's the website address of this organization known as Kinzie Capital Partners?
www.kinziecp.com.
This is your host, Herb Cohen, and today we've had the opportunity of co-hosting with Shay, Desir, Darren, Dylan, Denaya, Deshawn, students from the Belmont Charter High School, who this show's been produced in conjunction with. Our guests have been Greg Krug, President and CEO of Lampire Biological Laboratories, Regina Hairston, President and CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware, Lawrence James, President and CEO of Connexus Technology, and Suzanne Yoon, founder and managing partner of Kinzie Capital Partners. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com. To learn more about our executive leaders, it's executiveleadersradio.com. To learn more about our executive leaders, thank you for joining us today, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.